Hey guys, it's Todd. Welcome to the Do Different podcast. Got another excellent meeting for you guys today. Fantastic guest. This is Katya Hropova, and we're going to have a good discussion, deal with a lot of different stuff. So, welcome in, Katya. How are you?
I'm good, Todd. Thank you. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. So, for the viewing audience that either doesn't know you or isn't familiar, take a couple minutes, introduce yourself, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Katya Hropova. I'm a somatic psychotherapist. And in my experience, I realized that somatic is not always clear what it really is, mostly because a lot of people do it in their own different ways. So there are many different ways to practice it. So, what somatic means to me is including the body in the process of therapy, pretty much go into the subconscious level. So you can think of it as mind-based processing versus body-based processing. So most traditional therapies, talk therapy, which is mind-based processing, and it's great, it's really valuable, but it's only half of the picture. So the body-based processing is the other half. So together you get this full picture of what is really going on. Is the mind and body on the same page, and which helps to make conscious decisions and just involve that more of the subconscious in the process too.
Yeah, and I love how you talk about how, with the mind and the body being and working in concert together, because, you could be of sound mind, but if you're physically or your body is out of line, you're gonna feel it kind of throughout. So, just in your own words, kind of how important is it that you get those both the body and the mind kind of lined up and playing to the best of their potential on both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. I can give you an example because with somatics, it's easier to experience it, to understand it, than to for it to just be a theory. So I'll give an example. So, for example, let's say somebody wants to be really, really successful in life. They want to start their own business and just go for it and have a different type of life. So that's what they decided in the mind, and doing all of the right things and going with the process, but for whatever reason it's just not happening. So something keeps stopping this person from really being successful in life. So most likely, if you go to the body level with this person, it will be something like that the body is protesting it. So maybe there is a belief that, yes, I want to be successful, but that means that I will be working 100 hours a week, not seeing my family, working so much, so many different tasks that I don't know, I'll have to figure out, and all of that. So once you go in somatic therapy to the body level, that's what the body is saying. It's pretty much the body is saying, no, no way. That's not what I want to do. So your mind wants to be successful, but your body is like, but I don't want to work 100 hours a week. No. So that's where you see the disconnect. And so ideally, so in the mind that that's what you want, so you go to the body level. You meet that protest essentially. You meet it, you be with it, you acknowledge it, and a couple of things can happen from that acknowledgement of the body's protest. So one thing you might realize that the way I'm trying to do business is actually not really sustainable. So I need to change something. So that's mind-based processing. So that's where they work together and you get the whole picture. Another thing that might happen is that once you meet that protest in the body, you actually realize that there is some interest, there is some excitement about wanting this different life that you want, and what does it really mean. So, and then you connect with that energy, and then again, the mind and body are in line in that process as well. So, how does that sound? Does that kind of paint the picture of why it's important?
Right. And do you find that with working with your clients, are the conflicts or meeting that kind of, something saying no, is it mostly in the mind or is it in the body? Where the where
It's more.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's more often in the body because in the mind, we usually, most of us know what we want, at least, have an idea of, I think I want this. But then the body might be the one that is saying no, or you need to adjust something, or from what I find in the body, it's not an absolute definite no. It's usually you need to adjust something, you need to do things differently, type of a thing.
So, with the work that you do, how do you help people kind of line those things up and make sure that or deal with that conflict in their body? Is it, do you work with them on kind of what they're going through, their processes, identifying why their body is saying no?
Yeah, absolutely. All of those things. And there is a specific way I do that also. I uh, I did a lot of research in myself and just in general, and because I'm such a practical person, and I need the step-by-step process of how do you actually connect to the body. Because a personal example, I was doing yoga years ago, and the instructor told me to push into the foot and to be in my body, and I could not understand what she meant. I was like, I am in my body. I'm practicing yoga. What do you mean to be in my body? So I didn't really understand the concept. So I needed to understand that first. And I do need those step by step processes. So with this too, I needed to understand how do you actually meet your emotions? How do you process them? How do you dissolve them? Because maybe you heard the phrase feel it to heal it. So essentially, you need to meet your emotions, feel your emotions to actually heal them and to get through them. So I needed to find a way how to actually do it. And I was able to find that for myself. And then that's what I teach to my clients as well. And I've actually created a course, an online course that leads people exactly through those steps of how to meet your emotions and also build the overall well-being. And essentially, the steps are you tune into the body. So we develop the mind body connection, which is all of the somatic psychotherapy is about mind body connection. So that's what we start with. And I do that by a body scan meditation. It's a guided type of meditation, or just leading people through the process of connecting with your body, go to your feelings and sensations instead of the mind. So trying to kind of, if you imagine dropping your attention from the brain down into the body below the neck and then starting to feel the actual sensations. So that's the way to meet that protest in the body or anything that's going on, is to go to the body level first and then kind of wait and watch what happens. Usually when you start thinking about something that might be bothering you, it will show up in the body too as a sensation. So maybe it will be like a tight ball or a pit in the stomach or something like this. When you think about it, the pit in the stomach often happens with anxiety. So when people are dealing with anxiety, when they go to the body level, there is usually some kind of tightness in the body associated with that anxiety. So, and then the next step is to just let it be. Let it be without trying to analyze it or trying to think about that sensation, but pure feeling. And I find that that's the trickiest part, is to try not to think, to actually just feel. So that is the biggest step. And but that's the fastest way to dissolve that or heal whatever is going on in the body. So acknowledge it, go to the body level, find the sensation, feel it, and let it dissolve on its own or transform into something else. So it might dissolve completely, or it might show you that there is something else underneath it. So maybe if you're dealing with fear of or anxiety, underneath that on the body level there will be some kind of frustration or something that I really needed to say that type of a thing, but it was scary, so that's why it was masked by the fear, and that's why the anxiety was happening. So it's kind of a layered process, but the biggest skill is to just tune in, try not to think, actually just feel the sensations, which is the hardest part, is trying not to think, is because it is a completely different way to process emotions. Instead of thinking about it, you are about them, you are feeling them. And but that's how they actually transform.
Yeah, I and I
So
can
that's the process. Yeah.
yeah, I can see the challenge with like not thinking. It's like people will say, "Oh, just turn your brain off." It's like, look, it doesn't turn off. Like it's always on.
No.
Um, but I mean, there's a lot of value in like what you're talking about and what you coach on in terms of, your mind typically will give you some clarity on what you want, where you want to go, but your body is going to reject either all, some little bits and pieces of it. And really understanding that and being in tune will get you on the right track. It's kind of like the old adage, if you've got, say, like four core values, like there's four things that are on my must have list in order for it to fill all of my buckets. And if I get used to running every decision and everything as a second nature through that core four, and if it's a no, then it's a no. That knowing that there's going to be something that is not going to make me or let me feel right about this. And that's where you're getting to, is like that understanding of, we need to figure out your game plan based on the fact that, like, it's anxiety because you're feeling this, or depending on what they're saying. Um, what are some of the most common things that people will feel, or like you said, the pit of the stomach, stuff like that? But like, what guidance does that give them based on what they're dealing with, to help them overcome or to adjust accordingly?
Yeah, so everybody's unique, of course. I don't think I can really name one common thing that happens, because the bodies are different, so there's different stories. If you think of the bodies as holding stories of all of our lives, especially anything traumatic or anything that was extra emotional, so all of the stories are there. So based on those stories, those kind of lenses, that's what will show up in the present moment too. So those specific fears, specific triggers, based on the history too. So oftentimes when somebody is dealing with anxiety, there might be something like, I'm really afraid of this project, but I'm actually really excited. So that excitement and anxiety might have a similar root, and it's hard to distinguish sometimes. Am I really scared? Is my intuition telling me that this is not the right thing for me? Or am I really excited? And if I get through it, I'll get to the next level type of thing, kind of like everything you want is on the other side of fear type of thing.
Right.
So which one is it? And then if you check in with the body, you would know, because fear and excitement, they would feel different on the body level. That they might be similar on the mind level or might have similar sensations, but on the body level, they will be different. So that's how you distinguish. Is it your intuition? Is it fear? Is it excitement? Is it something else? So that's one thing that might happen, is that, oh, I'm actually really excited about this project. And then the fear falls away. Once you realize that there is excitement and you actually really want to do it, the fear and anxiety falls away and you just go for it. So it kind of clears the path in a way. There might also be something that with boundaries. So if it is hard for somebody to set their boundaries, to keep their boundaries, let's say that this somebody is really anxious to go to work, and then when they go to the level of the body, check in with anxiety, it turns out they really don't like their boss because they're afraid to say no to the boss. But the boss keeps asking for new tasks, and the body is like, no, I don't want to do any more tasks. I need a break. So the body is essentially saying that you need to set a boundary, but it's so scary. So that's what it is. But once you realize that that's what it is, usually that realization gives enough energy to set that boundary too. So even if it's scary, you realize, but it's really important to me. I really want to do it, and then you do it. So that's kind of how you learn to do that as well. There are other things too. There might be anger under anxiety too. A lot of the times it's anger too.
Yeah, and I can see like what you were just talking about with the, anxiety coming out, but it's actually excitement. And that's an important thing to for people to recognize and learn about themselves, because the body, the subconscious's job is to protect, right? So it's always going to see danger everywhere and pull in, pull out, everything like that. But it still shows itself. You just have to be able to understand and kind of figure out, like, is this truly anxiety, like I'm nervous about it, or am I nervous about it because I can't wait until I get going on it? And that's a challenge. I mean, that's like you said, every individual has to go through that journey to recognize in themselves how what that reaction and that different feeling feels like.
Absolutely, yeah. And you can only do that by experiencing it. Because once you experience it, you know it. It's what in somatic psychotherapy sometimes it's called somatic signature. So you know the somatic signature of that emotion or of that feeling, and you know what it is. You can distinguish easier. But again, it's that it takes that process of, okay, I'm not going to think about it, I'm just going to drop into the body and feel, and then get through the process, which is the trickiest part. And I'm also a meditation instructor, so I know that the mind doesn't stop in meditation. It's impossible. Don't even try it, because it just go into repress or do something else, do some funky things. So yes, the mind is not going to stop. So that's why I try to think of this process of feeling instead of thinking, is that I'm just giving my mind a different job. So instead of thinking 1,000 miles an hour about this thing, let's go to the body level and actually feel. So, and the mind usually gets on with the job. So if you give it a different job, it will do it, but it might take a few times to get used to, kind of like a new habit. But yeah, it's just giving your mind a different job.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like once you get to the point to where you understand, like, how you work, like how the brain works with the body, what those feelings are, how to turn your brain off and just feel and stuff like that. It's not a single problem solution. Like, it's something you carry through the rest of your life, and no matter what it is that you're facing, it it's like you can bring this stuff back, have it part of your routine, because you're always going to feel different things, hear different things, different reactions to stuff. But if you get the basics and you understand how, why, what it feels like, the reaction, it's like there's nothing that can stop you from whatever you want, because you understand where you are.
Absolutely. You're absolutely 100% right. And yeah, all you need to do is to know the path. You don't need to be perfect at knowing how to feel your emotions or how to do it. And yeah, it is if you just know the path of how to do it, and you can always remind yourself, or you can have a little note to yourself that this is what I do when I have a difficult decision or difficult emotion. I go to the body level and process that way. So absolutely, yeah. And you're right, it can stay your whole life. Ideally, it is your new life scale. So you check out your big decisions and everything through your body, make sure everything is in line, and then how you thrive. Essentially, that's if you get the mind and body online and learn that skill, you can thrive and you can do absolutely anything. I believe in that, at least.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the future is unwritten for everyone in the world. And the only architect is going to be you for yourself, me for myself, every individual. It's like, think of it, don't think of the future as this, something you got to beat or something you got to adapt. And it's like it's a blank palette, and here's a pen or color pencils or whatever. It's up to each of us to draw that future and what it looks like with the understanding of some basic things like what you're talking about is, yeah, we understand that there's going to be bumps along the way, but if you understand what those bumps mean, how they make you feel, what you're feeling, how you're going to make those adaptations or changes, adjustments, there's no, okay, then what's missing? Nothing. Then you go draw your future.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's such an important point too, because what you say in essentially is kind of the manifestation. So foreseeing your future, projecting your future, creating your future. And the funny, it's not so funny and funny thing about trying to create your future is once you go towards something that you want, everything that keeps you out of it will pop up and kind of be in front of you right away. And that's what deters a lot of the people away from their dreams because they know what they want. They can even feel it in their body, like a whole body. Yes, this is what I want. But then those things that can, the roadblocks that prevent you from naturally being in that state that you want, will come up because they need to be processed. The body always wants to heal. The whole human being always wants to go to healing and balance. So, okay, you want to be here. This is what you need to look at. And then you have to deal with that if you want to be where you want to be. And then how do you deal with that? How do you deal with those roadblocks without thinking that, oh, it's my intuition telling me that this is not for me and I'm just going to go a different route or stay where I am? And so, yeah, with manifestation or creating your dreams, it's important to have those skills of how do you process those roadblocks so you can actually end up where you want to be. How are you being with those emotions so they can dissolve? Because I've done that myself. When I dream about a certain dream and then I do practices of that. I connect with it, dream about it, and then suddenly fear comes up, and then I'm being with that fear. What is it? It's some nervousness about that. Oh, I'm just not used to that way of being. How am I going to be this happy type of a thing? And it's a little scary. So, but then I have to get through it to really believe in my dream again, type of a thing.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other important lesson there is like as you get to the point to where you've gone through and you understand and um, you know how your body works, what you're feeling, adjustments, stuff like that. The danger is always then you start to anticipate challenges coming up, and even if they don't actually present themselves, like you're almost like you think you're too good for your own good, right? Like you're like, I know how I'm going to feel. Well, if you don't feel that way, don't like pre-adjust to it. Wait for that moment to come and present itself, then deal with it. Don't put roadblocks out there that may not exist.
Definitely. Yeah. That's why it's so important to be in the moment. So, are you actually scared of this future in the moment, or are you not? And you're just anticipating it? Because if it is just an anticipation, which is related to anxiety and which is related to fear and might be related to excitement as well, then you go to the body level and discern those and then keep going, type of a thing. Connecting to the body is also really calming. So anytime there is any type of a doubt or worry or anything like that, if you just connect to the body, that's already will resolve a lot of that turmoil that might be happening too.
Yeah, I mean, you know, for however long it's been since we've evolved, it's like our our minds and bodies will tell us and give us every piece of information that we need and that we desire to be receptive to. It's going to tell us like the answer to the whatever question is out there. It's just because of time and just society and pressure and stress and all this other stuff, we've lost a little bit of that connection to my body's saying something, people automatically go to, well, it's anxiety, and they start popping Tums or whatever, instead of actually slowing down and thinking, why are you feeling this specific feeling in this specific circumstance, and what does that tell you? And that's where you come in.
Yeah, I like to see any of those emotions as the indicators that something is happening. So if you see emotions as a guidance system, that is, that really helps me to just conceptualize the whole thing. Is if I'm feeling anxiety or feeling fear, that tells me something, like you said. So instead of popping pills, I would go to this body level and actually see what's there. So it is kind of like this path to the subconscious and to the unknown, and also to your own truth, to the truth of your body, to who you are, and that's connection. Essentially, once you go to the body, and then it just connects back to the mind, and then everything becomes online, and then that's how you know you're on the right path and doing the right thing
Yeah,
for
because
yourself.
yeah, it's because a lot of times we skip the step, like what you talked about with the feeling,
Mm-hmm.
like turning your brain off and feeling actually what's going on. We're too quick. We pass that step most often. Or, if we even give it a second thought, it's just exactly that, a second thought. And if we would take the time, or as individuals who wants more out of life and they want to, move and make progress, is taking that time to feel what the body is telling you and how it connects to the mind, and what the overall scenario is, because that understanding of the connection between everything, it's going to give you the answer more so than anything else.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. And it is essentially it's relearning that connection to the body, because what takes us out of the body is the stress, the deadlines, the coffee. I love coffee, but it can definitely take me out of my body too if I have too much of it. So it's that kind of a quicker energy of the mind, quicker thinking, and which does not leave space for the body to come in and to actually speak as well. Because if mind speaks in thoughts and realizations, then the body speaks in sensations. So oftentimes we try not to feel. And if you try not to feel physical sensations, you're not really feeling your emotion, and it's kind of snowballs from there. So it is just relearning that. And at first connecting to the body might be a little bit scary because there is this history of stress. I'll tell you a personal example. When I first started connecting to my body, suddenly I felt so much fear. It was just so much of it, and I couldn't understand where it was coming from at first. I realized later, but at first it was just, oh my God, there is just so much fear in my body. I don't want to connect with it. I kept trying to connect with it anyways. And after some time, uh, I was also afraid to ski. So I would ski, but then be tight the whole time. So after going through this process of reconnection with my body, going through that fear that was in my body, then I went skiing. I was free as a bird, just going down the slope, enjoying it. So it freed me, just connecting to my body and processing that fear. It freed something in me that made me more excited, made me more of myself, made me less of a tight person and kind of timid and afraid to do something. Because how we do anything is how we do everything. So if I was afraid to ski, I was afraid to speak, I was afraid to do a lot of the other things too. And so processing that one fear that I didn't even know that it would manifest in me not being afraid of skiing anymore. It was just a nice bonus, but it also opened up in other areas of life too. So it is that connection to the body. It just opens magic in life, I think. That's why I
No,
love it so much.
yeah, I completely agree, because it's like no one has ever been good at any, let's just use sport. no one has ever been good at performing in any sport if they perform under tension. You have to be loose, you have to be relaxed, you have to be in control, but you also have to be able to let things flow as they will, like skiing and stuff like that. There's a reason like Michaela Schifrin just dominates the women's sport, is because she's found that symbiotic relationship between her mind, her body, and the feeling, to where she could be going 80 miles an hour and she's relaxed as ever and in 100% control. Whereas, if you're not that timid, it locks you up and you don't perform. And that'll speak to any part of your life, right? I mean, it's not just athletics, but,
Absolutely.
you know, your goals, your aspirations, your health, wealth, relationships, kind of everything that you want and that you dream of. Tension is going to be the enemy of you making progress.
Exactly. And then what do you do with it? Usually there is just not really the steps, or at least in what I found is that I didn't have the actual system of how what do I do with this tension. Okay, I can go to a yoga class maybe and meditate and it will get a little better, but then what do I do in the moment when I really need it? So that's why I love this work, this somatic work, because connecting to the body, it's almost, I think it's, I mean, in my experience, is the most efficient way to process something, is to just go to that tension, feel it, let it dissolve. It can take 2 or 3 minutes. Oftentimes that's as short as it takes.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It's like people, there's a preconceived notion out there like, oh God, it's like I gotta be there for an hour. And it's really,
Mm-hmm.
the better you get at it, the quicker you're able to turn your mind off, feel what you're feeling, understand why you're feeling it, get your alignment back, and then keep going. And like you said, it can be a 2 or 3 minute process, not a 2 or 3 hour process.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a long process. And I mean, with something that is like a trauma or that is really serious, that might take more time, but and more repetitions coming back to it. But something like anxiety, that is a 2 to 3 minute process most of the time. And yeah, and the mind will still not be off completely. It's just doing a different job. So instead of thinking about something and then kind of driving your life from your thoughts, if you go to the level of the body and then you realize something and you start getting different insights, so it's almost like your thoughts come from the body, from and then it's a different knowing, it's a different being, and it's also a different thought. So you still are having thoughts, but they're just different. They feel more grounded and more true to when I do, they feel more true to me. So if I do this process, it's like, okay, this is really what I want. And so it's a different type of the whole realization and thinking
Mm-hmm.
too.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the best way of putting it. And it's a super, like I learned a ton just in the couple of conversations that we've had about, like, getting in tune with both mind and body, and how that alignment, how vitally important it is to whatever we're setting out to do. It could be some, like huge goals. It could just be like getting through a week or something like that. But having how important it is to be aligned, and how much the success of what you're setting out to do depends on that alignment.
Absolutely, yeah. And that mind body connection, if you really learn to communicate with your body, to get information from it, that gives so much confidence. It's incredible. So it is like that grounded, centered, rooted feeling inside that you know that your body is there, it supports you, you're one essentially, and it is a huge source of support. And I mean, science shows that just connecting to the body is already calming and self-regulating. So that alone is an incredible thing. It's just, connecting to your body for a minute and you'll already feel differently,
Mm.
and there will be more confidence, and you'll find that truth in yourself, because it is so powerful. I'm sure you know that it is so powerful to connect to your truth and then feel it in your whole body and then operate from there. It is a different life, a different way of being completely.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's awareness more than anything else. Um,
Absolutely.
of how everything works. So, well, Katya, it's been an absolute pleasure for the viewing audience out there. I've got all of Katya's information in the show notes below. And if you like this episode and you don't want to miss any in the future, just like and subscribe, and that way you don't miss anything that we've got. But, Katya, I'm going to pass the ball to you. You got a couple minutes here to summarize and kick us out of here.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure, Todd. Thank you so much. Such an incredible conversation, and the back and forth. It's awesome. I loved it. And yeah, my information will be written right under the episode. And I will also include the body scan meditation, because it's just a calming, soothing experience and a good way to start cultivating that mind body connection. So if somebody wants to, they can just listen to that meditation on a regular basis, like 3 to 5 times a week, and that will already help that mind body connection just by itself. And then the course, of course, it's a 6 weeks. It's a self-paced course designed to be 6 weeks. You can take it in shorter amount or longer amount, up to you. And that leads you exactly through the steps, how to meet your emotions, how to be with them, and also builds that mind-body connection, and also self-compassion, because that's a huge foundation for the overall well-being in general. And I like to start at the root. And so that's why I wanted that foundation to be there. So the foundation of the self-compassion, mind body connection, and then the skills of how to actually feel emotions. And yeah, body is a magical thing. It always wants to heal. It's incredibly wise. And if I do believe that if we just give it time and space, it will do its thing, and it will create those connections and realizations and that thriving, and all of the good things that we want is there. It just, yeah, it's the mind-based processing and body-based processing together, because they both are tremendously important. One is not better than the other. They're both absolutely necessary.
Yeah, very well said. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you guys next episode. Thanks, Katya.